Welcome to the Chic Show. Today's video is full of wood sign hacks. If you have a plethora of Dollar Tree signs as I do and you don't know what to do with them, you don't want to miss today's video. For this project, I'm using one of Dollar Tree's $3 cutting boards. I'm going to remove the sticker and the jute twine at the top as well as the jute twine hanger. I do like the front of the cutting board, so I'm going to leave it as is, and I may redo it one day, but I'm just going to use the back for now. So I'm going to give it a couple of coats of black ink chalk paint from Waverly. I'm going to be laying down these wooden utensils that I thrifted. They're a smaller size, so they're perfect for this cutting board. I'm just trying to get an idea of the sizing so that I can stencil on words at the top. I traced the letters onto a piece of paper so that I could kind of get my sizing and see how I wanted to center the words on the board. Now I'm using a white paint pen, and I'm just going to color in the letters because these are very thin letters. And it will say "C'est bon," which is French for "that's good." I'm working from the outside in so that I get my spacing correct and so that there's the correct amount of space between the two words. It's also important to let the letters dry in between each letter so that you don't smear them when putting the stencil down for the next letter. Now I'm using wood glue to attach these to the board. For the handle at the top, I chose a leather belt that I had thrifted, and I'm just going to feed it through there. And if I had some little brass brads, I would have used those at the top, but I didn't, so I am using thumbtacks and glue. Now I'm going to go back with my finger sander and just sand around the edges of the cutting board, paying special attention to those rounded corners. I'm sanding just a little bit more on the rounded corners. This might be one of my favorite projects I've ever done. This project is using one of each of these garden signs. I'm going to use my heat gun to heat up the glue around these pieces on the front, and I'm going to pull those off. I'm also going to take the spade and I'm going to cut around the edges just to remove those more pointed ends. Since this is just MDF board, I'm able to use this box cutter to cut through a few layers, peel it away, and continue to cut through the entire piece. And then I'll sand around the edges to make them smooth. Because I do want to use the front of this piece, because I like the handle, I'm going to sand off those places that are a little bit rough where I pulled off those extra embellishments. Now I'm going to tape off the handle and I'm going to paint the top of both pieces. Once the paint has dried, I'm going to pull that painter's tape off and move it above the handle so that I can use some Waverly antique wax mixed with a little bit of water to stain the handle. I wanted that wood grain to show through, and some of those imperfections there show through as well, but I'm okay with that. To disguise those imperfections, I decided to use some of these rub-on transfers on the handle. In the end, it really wasn't necessary. They really didn't rub on these rough handles very well. Now I'm going to use some tumbling tower blocks and glue them together to make the word eat. I did have to cut some of the tumbling blocks to make the A. I would love to be able to give you an exact measurement of the angles on the A, but it was really just trial and error. I just cut the tumbling tower block with the miter shears until I got the right angle. Once the glue was dry, I went ahead and gave them a coat of Waverly ink chalk paint on the front and the sides, but not the back. Now I'm going back to those two garden pieces, and as you can tell, I've tried to make a fork and a spoon, and I'm going to go ahead and sand around the edges of those as well as the letters. Now we need something to adhere all of these pieces to. This is a piece that I got from Michael's in one of my $5 Christmas boxes or after Christmas box. So this was just pennies, literally. I got, I think, 5 of them in a pack along with several other wood signs. So I just took off all the paper and now I'm going to paint the front of it with Waverly white chalk paint. Once I had given that a couple of coats of paint, I'm going to adhere the fork and the spoon with wood glue to the front of the sign, and then we'll add the letters. I stacked some heavy books on top just to make sure that they were flat and would adhere to the sign. This might be my second most favorite project I've ever done. Please let me know what you think about how I used these two garden pieces. Now for the next sign, I'm using this summer sign. I had repainted the back and never finished it, so I'm going to simply Mod Podge over it using a collage method of book pages. Once the Mod Podge had dried, I went back and sanded around the edges just so I could get a good clean line. Now I'm going to use this clear wall sticker from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to cut it so that it fits onto the front. I'm going to use some black wood beads and add those to the original hanger. And that does it for this project. I'm using this summer sign for this next project, and those center squares are raised and it looks like burlap, so I'm going to take a hint from that and I'm going to cut some squares of burlap to fit over those squares. I am fraying the edges just a little bit, and I'm going to be using some of these IOD stamps so that I can make this project more of a year-round sign. I chose to use 3 different stamps from this collection, and I'm just going to ink them up and stamp them onto the burlap. I'm using Mod Podge for fabric to attach the burlap to the sign. I wanted to change up the handle, so I'm using some of this black faux leather from Dollar Tree, and I'm just cutting a strip so that I can make that the new handle. I taped that jute twine handle back behind it just in case I wanted to use it later. I am using a small staple in my staple gun to attach the handle to the sign. I really like the look of the black leather hanger. This sign is for my craft room. So this is a Christmas sign from last year. I just removed the tag, and I'm going to give the center of it a coat of Waverly White chalk paint. I used a laser printer to reverse the images that I wanted to use. It says, "Sorry, can't, crafting, bye." This is based on a shirt I saw online somewhere, and I thought it would be perfect for a crafting sign. So I'm using Mod Podge. I'm going to adhere it to the sign and leave it overnight. And remember, when you do print these out, it does need to be reversed or mirrored. Now the next day I'm going to go in with a wet paper towel, and I'm just going to dampen the paper until you can see the letters come through. Once you can see the letters come through, you just go back and rub it with your fingers. I'm using a paper towel here at first, and then I go back with my fingers and just rub away that paper. If you rub away too much of the letters, you can take a permanent marker and go back and touch it up. That's what I did on the C and the R. I'm using the existing hanger, but I am going to add some black beads to it. To seal the project, I am going back over it with some more Mod Podge. I should have let the letters on the C and the R dry a little bit longer because they did smear a little bit. The last project was inspired by this Farm Fresh Happiness sign that I found at Dollar Tree. I loved the shape of it, and it reminded me of a highway sign, so I decided to recreate it into a Route 66 sign. First, I thought I would just paint over the front and try to match the underlying color, but that did not work. So I went ahead and painted it completely white with Waverly White chalk paint. I tried to leave that black edging around because I didn't want to try and have to recreate that straight. So I'm kind of painting around the black edging. This did take a couple of coats of paint as well. And again, I used the reverse mirrored format on my computer, and printed out Route 66. I'm cutting the graphic to fit so that I have the least amount of paper to worry about, and I'm going to do the same thing as we did in the last project. I'm going to put Mod Podge on the graphic, put it onto the sign, and let it sit and dry overnight. The next day, I'm going to come back with a wet rag and just start wetting those letters until they come through the paper. I have learned from Deidre at Our Upcycled Life that if you find cheaper paper that's thinner, it does work better, so I'm anxious to try this. Mine is regular printer paper and it's a little bit harder to rub away, so if you get copy paper at Dollar Tree or something like that, it's very thin and I think it'll work much better. I did use my sander to sand away some of the paper as well, and that seemed to work well. And I am going to seal this one as well with some more Mod Podge. I really like the way this one turned out. Please let me know what you think of how I am repurposing these Dollar Tree signs as I slowly go through my sign stash. I thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that thumbs up button. And remember to share the chic. Bye now.